All right. Thank you all again for being here tonight. We appreciate it. We hope we're able to provide you with some great information to help you through this process. We are recording the program, so we'll have it on our YouTube channel, CFNC's YouTube channel, within a week so that it's available for all students and parents and educators and whoever would like to join and listen in. And if you have questions, please throw them in the chat and we will work our way through them. You have a great panel of professionals here tonight who are going to be able to work through a lot of the information. We have some general questions we know that you guys have. And so we will talk to some of those as well. So my name is April Query. I'm Assistant Vice President with for the CFNC for College Access and Community Outreach. Been doing this for a little over 18 years. So I feel but like I said before, all of us on here is going to be able to provide you with some great information. We are joined by Jordan, Maya, and Daniela, who will take time in a few minutes and introduce themselves. Bree Clayton is not going to be here tonight, and you can probably guess that from the location that we have here. So where we have Bree on here, I will kind of fast forward through some things. So again, I think you all are going to leave here with some great information. So I wanted to kick tonight off with just some basics so that you guys, I know some folks on have some questions already. They might be questions we already have up here. If they end up not being that, just put it in the chat. But I wanted to kick us off with very, very basic information. Some folks on here already have an understanding of this and some may not, so that we're all on the same page as we go into this evening. So number one, what is a scholarship, right? Scholarships Unmasked, right? Guide to free college funding. How do I find scholarships? What are they to begin with, okay? A scholarship is a type of financial aid. So when we talk about financial aid, it's helpful to consider financial aid an umbrella term. So picture an umbrella over your head, okay? And underneath the umbrella, you've got all the different ways that you can pay for post-secondary education. We're talking about 2-year, 4-year, public, private, in-state, out-of-state. And within financial aid, there's all kinds of different avenues and ways that you can pay for college. There are federal and state grants, which is free money. You don't have to repay that. You're going to make sure you have the FAFSA form done. For those of you that are seniors, it will be available on December 1st this year. Okay, the date will probably change next year. Pay attention to what your financial aid office is sending you out in emails and such. Okay, we have scholarships, which is another part of financial aid that does not have to be repaid. So these are kind of the areas that's free money for school, and this is what's important for you all to focus on. And tonight we're going to be focusing on those scholarships. So it is a type of financial aid. It does not have to be repaid. Okay. And then in general, and this is really generalities because sometimes it's a mixture, but scholarships tend to be academic and or need-based. Okay. So academic scholarships typically have to do with your grades, your talents and abilities, band, all kinds of stuff, right? So it's about kind of what you're doing in order to kind of have that scholarships through your academics plus, okay? And then you have need-based scholarships that have to do with a financial need in your household. One big thing to keep in mind with need-based scholarships is that there is not a line that we're drawing in the sand, for example, that says, okay, this side, you guys qualify. If you're on the other side, you don't qualify. Because scholarships can have different barriers, or I'm sorry, different thresholds for what they consider to be need-based. Okay, same goes with federal and state grants. So it really varies, and honestly, a lot of your questions, the answer is it depends. It's just kind of how it is. All right, I want to share just a couple other things with you, and then I'm going to be passing this on. When students say, where do I go to find scholarships? Okay, there's a lot of scholarships out there, and sometimes it understandably can be a little overwhelming, right? To understand where to go. Have I applied for enough? Did I do enough research? Where do I start? Where do I start? Okay. So the first thing is understanding what a scholarship is, okay, and the different types that are out there. We kind of talked about that. Academic, need-based are two basic, basic clumps there. But I try to describe scholarships geographically. It seems to, at least it helps break it up in my mind, okay? So you have 4 main sort of avenues geographically in looking for scholarships. And so I'm just going to break these down very quickly. There are national scholarships. These are scholarships open to students all across the nation. They vary in terms of amount, how you're eligible, how you apply, and for deadline, okay? There's a lot of national search engines. A couple of caveats and tips when you're figuring out if you should use these national search engines. One, make sure you're not paying for anything, okay? So they shouldn't be asking like for your credit card for payment for a national search engine, okay? Another piece of it is you really want to use something that is searching the scholarships for you based on characteristics and aspects that you have put into the system. If something says, hey, what's your name and what's your email address? Okay, we're going to find scholarships that match you. How do you know, how on earth do you know what matches me? You know my name and my email address, right? So there are some good search engines that exist that are free, that really allow you to go through and do sort of like an online interview up front to answer a lot of questions about yourself and your interests, and then really truly try to find scholarships that you qualify for based on those factors. Okay, so those national ones. Keep in mind the type of an amount of competition you have with these two. Not that it's the end all be all of any of this, but national, you've got to think those are scholarships open to students nationally, right? So there might be the most, although sometimes you never know, right? Statewide scholarships, these are scholarships open to students all across North Carolina. This is a little bit closer to what we're going to be talking about today, tonight, sort of. Statewide scholarships, how you learn about those, I would start on CFNC.org, and being here tonight is fabulous first steps, okay? I'll show you a screenshot in a minute, but we're a statewide organization. CFNC is your free resource provided by the state of North Carolina to help students across the state plan, apply, and pay for college. And so through that, we also have a statewide scholarship search engine on our site. So it's a place to go, okay? So that's a good resource there. You have your institutional scholarships. These are scholarships offered by your colleges, okay? Those vary greatly based on how many they offer, how you apply, and deadlines. Some colleges have one large application process, and you're going to kind of go through it, and it takes a while. But you're applying for all the scholarships in their system by answering the questions as you go through. If it's a lengthy one like that, the system usually will let you'll have to log in, right? And it'll let you save, come back later. Take your time. Do not apply the night before it's due. Okay, yes, because then you will have to, those short answers, I don't know, just typing stuff in. We also encourage you, if you do have some essays that you've got to complete, save them, because sometimes there's similar questions between scholarships. And if you really spent time developing one and you're like, this is good, I'm proud of this, and you're submitting it on a website for that organization or college or whatever it is, and you hit submit, you might not get a copy of it. So we encourage you to have a Word doc going or something where you're saving these so that, you know, if you're like, gosh, that looks a lot like the question I used 2 weeks ago, but just a tiny bit different. Well, pull it back up and alter it, especially if it's one that you're really proud of that you've worked on, okay? So you need to visit your individual colleges to learn about their scholarships. And if they have one system you go through, or if you need to apply for those scholarships individually, and what the deadlines are, okay? So this is a lot, we know, but if you make yourself a nice calendar, right, scholarship calendar, and you've got your deadlines and reminders in, it's going to be helpful to you, okay? And then we have local scholarships, and these are scholarships offered by local organizations, and a lot of this is word of mouth, but also the high school that you attend or your student attends or you work at, typically on that high school's website, they will have a page on there somewhere that your counselor or college advisor is hosting that lists different scholarship information and deadlines and such. A lot of local scholarships don't start advertising until late winter, early spring, because there are a fewer number of students that apply for those. The amount varies greatly, but there's fewer number of students that apply. So if you're looking through 50 applicants, you don't necessarily need months to do that, right? So they tend to kind of advertise a little later on. On our website at cfnc.org, if you go to pay for college and then scholarship search, you'll find lots of scholarships there that are North Carolina based, and you can search based on all kinds of factors. So make sure that you are taking a look. So I am going to pause and ask Jordan Barnes to speak for just a few minutes about herself and the scholarship organization and such that she is representing tonight. Thank you for being here, Jordan.
Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Jordan Barnes. I'm the Scholarships Program Associate at the North Carolina Community Foundation, otherwise known as NCCF. Real quick, I will pop our scholarships page and link in our chat, as well as our scholarships portal link. So for those of you visiting, go ahead and save those if you want to apply to some of our scholarships. So a little bit about NCCF to those who are not familiar. NCCF is a statewide nonprofit, so we offer scholarships to students across the state. NCCF itself is dedicated to inspiring philanthropy and making a lasting impact through charitable funds that support a wide range of causes, including scholarships. NCCF itself manages around 150 scholarships. We're getting more every day, which is super great. In my particular role, I help manage the scholarships program from application to award distribution, and much of that entails helping students navigate our application process. So firstly, to touch on our scholarships themselves, we offer scholarships for a wide range of students, including high school seniors, current college students, adult learners, and some scholarships are even set up for those pursuing specific majors or career paths. So there are opportunities for students from rural communities, underrepresented groups, and those with financial need, especially. Many of our scholarships are based around financial need. And then lastly, as far as who we award to, because there are colleges that we don't award to, we award to public and private colleges or any institution, as well as community colleges, as long as they are not for-profit institutions. So if you're planning to go to a college or an institution that is for-profit, our scholarships do not apply to those institutions. As far as the application process goes through NCCF, our process is pretty straightforward. We utilize an online portal that allows students to search and apply for multiple scholarships at once. We call this our NCCF Universal Application. The Universal Application itself houses around 130 of our scholarships, and all of those have the same opening date, which will be in early January, and all of them have the same deadline, which will be early to mid-March. We have around 20 to 30 other scholarships that have separate applications with different deadlines as well. All will be housed in the same scholarships portal, however. So students are encouraged to complete one comprehensive application through our UA, which can be tailored to apply for multiple scholarships. So honestly, a lot of our scholarships are also county-based. So if you're from Wake County, there might be 3 or 4 scholarships that you're eligible to apply for. It's also very user-friendly. We have a lot of resources on our website, and also support from our scholarships team, which is myself and the scholarships program manager, Parker Shields. A lot of support from us through the application process too. On our website, you'll find our main scholarships email, also our phone numbers in case you're applying and need some assistance or have some questions. And then as far as selection criteria goes for our scholarships, each scholarship has its own criteria, but a majority of them consider academic achievement, financial need, again, maybe community involvement or leadership. And then we also, most scholarships utilize personal essays to kind of help emphasize, your unique story and to be able to showcase your individual strengths as an applicant. So that's kind of the lowdown on NCCF and our scholarships process. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jordan. That was very, very helpful. I appreciate it. I'm going to move over to Maya now and send the same question. Want to introduce yourself and such. Thank you for being here, Maya.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Maya Rossman. My title is the Senior Manager of Programs and Systems at the Wake Tech Foundation. That is an incredibly vague title, and all you guys really need to know is what that means for you is that I manage our scholarships. The Wake Tech Foundation is the fundraising arm of Wake Tech Community College. So if you are considering coming to Wake Tech in the next year or so, you want to listen up because we have a ton of scholarships for our students. So we are an institutional based scholarship program, as April was sort of laying out the different types of scholarships that you might apply for. So our application process is really, really simple and streamlined. We accept applications every single year between March 1st and April 30th. Those dates don't change. So if you are considering being at Wake Tech for the next academic year, so for fall 2025 and spring 2026, you want to put this spring, March 1st through April 30th on your calendar now, because that is when you will apply for scholarships for that academic year. And you can apply every year that you're going to be in school. And the way that it works is you first have to apply to Wake Tech, because that gives you your college login credentials. And those are the same login credentials that you will use to access the application. So you definitely want to apply to Wake Tech first. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for those credentials to kind of become active. So you don't want to be doing this on April 28th on April 28th and then run out of time, right? But if you have applied in February or March, you should still have plenty of time to apply for our scholarships. We offer scholarships for incoming students, for current students. We are a community college, and so that is students of many age ranges, right? So just out of high school, coming back to school for the first time after a gap, in school currently, we have scholarships for everyone. The basics that you need to know about who's eligible are literally, is a student in a degree-seeking program at Wake Tech and applied for a scholarship. That's your baseline eligibility. I have at least one scholarship where those are the only qualifications to be considered. So everyone who applies is guaranteed to be considered for at least one of our scholarships. But most students qualify to be considered for more awards, which increases your chances of receiving one of them. So most students would only get one scholarship offer because we try to spread the funds out as much as we can. But the more you qualify for, the higher your chances are of receiving them. And we have scholarships based on academic merit. We have scholarships based on financial need. And we have scholarships based on other things about you that a donor in the community cared about and wanted to help you through school. We have anywhere from super wide open scholarships like that one that I just mentioned, where literally everyone who applies is qualified, to some that are like, you live in a particular zip code and you're in this specific program and you've already taken 6 credit hours at the college and you're the first in your family to go to college. So a much narrower pool. So you will likely match with several different things. But the good news is you don't have to pour through our list. We do one central application. It is short and sweet. It is not meant to be tricky or difficult for you. Most of our students tell us that it took them at like total time an hour to apply, and that includes writing and revising a short essay. The basic questions, and there's about 20 of them, are really, really basic. I mean, 2 of them are what is your first name and what is your last name? And they're designed to be questions about your life that you already know the answers to. So are you a single parent? Are you the first in your family to go to college? What is the name of the high school that you graduated from? Because some of our awards are tied to a donor wants to fund students who graduated from a particular high school. So we ask that question. And then we require a very short essay. An essay is an incredibly strong term for what we're actually asking you to do. The minimum word count is 200 words, and that essay prompt does not change. So I'm gonna drop my links into the chat right now. Scholarships.waketech.edu is where all of this information lives, including my contact information, my pre-recorded student presentation that gives you sort of the lowdown on the nitty-gritty of applying, and that essay is posted year round and it doesn't change. So you could work on it now and have it in your pocket, and then it would probably take you 15 minutes to apply. And we gave out over $600,000 worth of scholarship funds this year. We funded 429 different students. We are always looking to add more. That number fluctuates a little bit year to year, but my role is to help students go through that process and get that money, as many of them as we can possibly get through. So if you've got questions that aren't answered by our site, I am always available. My email, I just threw into the chat as well. Please feel free to reach out to me, because I know that while we try to be straightforward with our questions, they can't always be, and not everyone is going to understand them the same. So don't worry about it. Just ask me if you've got questions. And if you're thinking about Wake Tech, even if you're not sure you're going to come, I encourage you to apply, because the worst thing that happens is you get offered an award and you're like, actually, I'm going to NC State. I'll say, great. And I'll award that scholarship to someone else instead. I would much rather you turn down an award than come to Wake Tech and miss out on that opportunity.
That's awesome. That makes so much sense. Thank you so much, Maya. And you brought up a good thing about some essay stuff. I'm going to drop some resources in the chat also, and we'll talk about that shortly as well. So thank you. All right, let's come over and talk with Daniela. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Isurieta, and I am the president and CEO of Latin Americans Working for Achievement, LAWA for short, because it's a mouthful. And we are in Charlotte. We are one of those local scholarships that we talked about earlier. So we are based in Charlotte and we serve Mecklenburg County, but our scholarships are also open to and eligible for students in Union, Cabarrus, Iredell, and Gaston County. So 5 counties in total. And we are a college access organization that aims to serve the Latino population in the Charlotte region. Our mission is to advance the education and quality of life of Latinos in the Charlotte region through educational, scholarship, and cultural programs. So we are best known for our scholarship program, but we also have some college access services as well. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what we do. So for our high school students, we offer a program called High School Series, where we partner with several colleges and universities in the area, including UNC Charlotte, Queen's University, Davidson College, Belmont Abbey, Wingate, SPCC, CPCC, I think, Johnson C. Smith, and I think that's all of them for this year. So we have a workshop at each of those different schools throughout the school year on Saturdays, and something that we do that's a little bit different than some other college access organizations around is that we provide both transportation for students that request it and also simultaneous bilingual information. So we have we provide students or parents, whoever requests it, with headsets so that they can hear the information that is being relayed in the information session in Spanish as well. So that's our way of trying to cut some barriers and provide access for our population. Each workshop focuses on a different major, a different school, but they all also include information on financial aid access, like the college application process, and then our scholarship as well. So once students, that's open to all high school students, and really in North Carolina, but you know, the ones that come are typically the ones in the surrounding counties. And then seniors are eligible to apply for the LAWA scholarship if they have at least a 2.5 GPA, demonstrated need, and academic achievement and community service. They also have to include 3 letters of recommendation and, of course, apply by our deadline. Our scholarships are awarded regardless of a student's immigration status. So that is something else that kind of sets us a little bit apart, because not all scholarships are available for students who may be undocumented or under DACA status. We are, so we just need to, we really always try to make sure that we get that out there so that students can apply for a scholarship regardless of what their status is. Our scholarships are available for students who are about to enroll in college. So high school seniors that are going to be college freshmen, if they were not eligible as high school seniors or were not aware of our scholarship, they can also apply as new college students. And they are renewable for up to 3 years. So all 4 years of college can be covered with our scholarship. We do have some requirements for renewal, and that is a minimum GPA of a 3.0 and community service with LAWA and participation in our college hacks program. So we ask them to give back to future students that may be, you know, needing some information about college and applications and scholarships. And we also ask that they are involved in a certain number of college hack sessions That is basically a college persistence support program for the majority of our students who are first generation students. About 80% of our scholarship recipients are first generation students. So we offer both mental health workshops, life skills workshops. We go over public speaking. We even have a dining etiquette class, all sorts of things that will help ensure that students are successful in both building that social capital, building resilience to be able to persist through college, and then be able to build that system of support. Feel like that was a lot of information, but I think I kind of captured most of what we do. I myself was a LAWA scholar, so it's very exciting to come full circle and lead the organization now. I received the scholarship coming out of high school and was able to renew it through college. So I can tell you firsthand, it's worth the time to invest in those scholarships and the support that's provided. So I will link our website and my email on the chat if anyone has any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniela. That is awesome. And you guys take a look at the chat because there is some more information coming through with links and just very, very good resources. All right, so we're going to jump in with a few questions. If you all have questions, again, send them in the chat. The first question we'll pass over to Jordan and Maya. So am I eligible for scholarships as a whole? So if we've got students out and they're like, how do I even know if I'm eligible? How do I know? Maya and Jordan.
Yeah, I can go. So how do you know if you're eligible? Especially through our application process. The way it works through our universal application that houses most of our scholarships, you first complete what we call like your base application. So you'll go through, you'll fill out some basic information about yourself, what kind of student you are, if you're a current high school student, current college student. You also pick out like the county that you live in. Filling out some of that basic information will first initially help us match you to scholarships. So my advice is always to apply first and see what comes up, especially with our UA. It's a nice tool, very easy, very quick. Secondly, at least with our organization, a lot of our criteria, we have a webpage for each scholarship that we house, and all of our criteria is listed there. So you can always read through criteria and see if you think that would be a good fit. Or even if you do read it and think, oh, maybe I might be a good fit, or you might be kind of, on the edge, wondering if you will, apply anyway. The other scholarships outside of our UA that are individual scholarships, anybody can apply for. There's no screening system to kind of filter you into those scholarships. You can take a look at the criteria and fill out an application and just see. So those are kind of at least in my opinion, the best way to kind of see if you're eligible. Sometimes you might be eligible and you don't even know. And sometimes you just have to do the research.
Yeah, and at Wake Tech, similarly, we encourage you to apply. It's very rare that you're not going to be eligible for at least one of our awards. And I don't think I said this when I was giving my overview. I can talk about our scholarships for days. There's so much information. But I actually encourage students not to worry about our list of scholarships. You're certainly welcome to go look at it, but it's 155 different scholarships, and that's incredibly overwhelming sometimes for students. And for our system, you don't need to know the name of a single scholarship in order to apply. You don't need to know which ones you qualify in order to apply for ours. As long as you're planning or thinking about coming to Wake Tech, if you enroll in the next academic year, you're going to be qualified. And so we want you to just focus on that application. Like, don't get in the weeds about maybe I qualify for this, maybe I qualify for that. Our system does that hard work for you, and it like takes that completely off your plate. I will say one of the things that's nice, our scholarships are donor funded from like community donors, which is different than if you go through federal aid, which has a lot of rules and a lot of complicated things you have to go through. We encourage you to apply to fill out your FAFSA, apply for a Pell Grant if you can. Not everyone can, but if you can, because I want you to have as much money for school as you possibly can, right? But our scholarships are more flexible. So Pell money, if you're taking 6 credit hours, you can access your funds. Foundation scholarship money, if you're taking 3 credit hours, you can access your funds. So that's essentially enroll in one class, you will be eligible to receive the money if you get it. But I will say other systems, right, are going to work differently. So some scholarships, you really are going to need to kind of hunt and peck and see if you qualify. But I think it is always worth your time to apply for more awards, because the more money you have access to, the less of that burden is on you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, both of you. We're gonna move over to another question, and this question is going to be for Daniela and Jordan. So we've talked a little bit about eligibility, and if you all kind of listened and have noticed, we're hearing a couple different things, and it depends, right? That's the answer to all your questions. It depends. How, a college and institution handles this might be different than a community foundation, might be different from a national organization, be different from a local organization. Some of your scholarships, you're going to want to read the eligibility requirements, like if they're individual scholarships that you're looking at, read those, right? Take a look. Other ones, like Maya mentioned, like Daniela mentioned, they're going to kind of sort it out for you on their end. Apply for stuff. Let's see what happens. What about those deadlines? Those silly deadlines? How important are they, Daniela and Jordan?
Not so silly. Deadlines are very, very important. And I think that's a big lesson to learn senior year, that college application deadlines and scholarship deadlines are crucial. When you're competing for funding dollars, that's essentially what you're doing. You want to make sure that you are on time and that you're making your case. And that deadline also applies to all of your additional materials that are part of your application. So not just the application itself, but if you need to upload a transcript, if you need to submit letters of recommendation, pay attention to if those need to go to you so that you upload them, or if they need to be submitted by your recommender by a certain date. Do not ask for your letter of recommendation the night it's due at 10 p.m. I have had students ask me for that, and it is not recommended. So make sure that you have a plan for when you are working through them. April mentioned earlier having a scholarship calendar. That's exactly the same thing that I recommend. Block some time out to work on those scholarships, and future you will thank you when you don't have that student debt.
Yeah, I agree with Daniela as well. Deadlines are not silly. They are super, super, super important, and they can make the difference between you getting your college partially or sometimes fully funded, depending on the scholarship you're eligible for and get chosen for. As we know, college is super expensive, and student debt is student debt, and it can take a long time for people to pay off their student debt. So super important to be on schedule and know the open and close dates for your scholarships. Especially if you're applying for multiple scholarships through multiple organizations. There could be so many different deadlines, and it may feel like it's hard to keep up with all of those deadlines with everything else that's going on in your life with school or work or whatever. But especially with NCCF, we cannot extend deadlines for a majority of our scholarships, especially because they run on the one single application. So our deadlines are very strict. And like Daniela said, that includes all of your materials, your transcripts, and your letters of recommendation. We've had plenty of applicants submit their application, but their letter of recommendation was not uploaded by their recommender for whatever reason. And there's a little bit of leeway there now that we kind of are set up so that recommenders upload and not the applicant. So depending on the scholarship, most of our scholarships are also administered by a scholarship administrator outside of NCCF. And so once in a while, they may make an exception, but a majority of the time they just do not, because scholarship administrators are also on deadlines and have to get those applications to their committees for selection. So pay attention to your deadlines, make a calendar or have a planner. And, if you can, try to submit as early as you can before that deadline too, in case you still are waiting on your recommenders to upload.
Thank you. That's perfect from both of you. Go ahead, Maya.
I just wanted to add, Wake Tech's deadlines are also hard deadlines. I really encourage you, when you're looking at your calendar, apply early in those application periods, because many of these are online now. In fact, I would venture to say most of the ones you're going to apply for our online systems, and you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you get glitches that you don't know how to solve, or error messages. Sometimes your internet goes down or your computer dies. And if you're starting that process early, you have plenty of time to get the help you need from one of us, say. I'm always going to help students figure out error messages and get their applications in. But if you're waiting until 11:50 p.m. on the deadline day, you probably are out of the range of getting help. I've got a link that I'm going to drop in the chat. We have one opportunity that requires just a little bit extra, and we do require those letters of recommendation. I wrote a guidance page for our letters of recommendation, but it got good things to consider if you're requesting those, because a lot of students request them but don't give enough information to their recommenders. And so this gives you just a little bit of an outline of like, hey, it's good practice to tell these details to your recommenders so that they're in the best position to write a letter appropriate to your scholarship opportunity. And since I wrote it, you guys are welcome to look at it and use it and tailor it to what you need.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
One more thing to add
go
on
ahead,
to
Daniela.
what Maya was saying.
Yeah.
Yes, work on them early, and so many people wait until the last minute and overwhelm the systems, which can lead them to crash. So don't do that with your applications. Don't do that with your scholarships. And while you may be one student that's requesting a letter of recommendation, if it's a popular teacher, administrator, community leader, they are very likely to be receiving lots and lots of requests. So you want to make sure that you get that request in early and give them everything that they need to write that letter.
I want to clarify something else. If you apply for a Wake Tech Foundation scholarship, your application will be looked at exactly the same if you apply on the first day and if you apply at the last minute, as long as it gets submitted. Some scholarships out there are going to have an early decision period. Some of them will weight you and look at you more closely if you apply early. So you also want to look for that information as you're looking at awards and deciding when you want to apply. I know mine don't care as long as you get that submitted by the deadline. We're looking on all at the same time, but some might be awarding early as those applications come in, and your chances of getting money decreases through the application period. So just keep an eye on that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to cover the next question. I know that Bree is not able to join us, so I'm going to pass it to Maya, and then if anyone else wants to chime in, feel free. Do I need to apply to each scholarship separately? You guys have talked about this some, so there's a very good possibility that some of these questions that will come up are ones that you've kind of touched around a little. But I think the answer is it depends, but I'll pass it over to you guys.
The answer is absolutely it depends. So if you're applying for a Wake Tech Foundation scholarship, you need to apply to them all at the same time. It's one application. We streamline it for you. We want to make it easy. But if you're also like, hey, I also want to do CFNC scholarships or NC Community Foundation scholarships, those are, at that point, that's several applications. And it's not, my application isn't going to get you qualified for their scholarships. So you're going to want to consider that as you're going through. But there are also some like sort of foundation pages where you do have to apply separately to each one. So it's going to depend. I wish I could make it super streamlined and easy for everyone. It would be amazing.
I know. It's not, depends, right? Okay. All right, so I think we've been able to kind of cover that. Okay, so let's come over and talk about what scholarships cover. So Jordan, did you want to kick us off? And then again, I know Bree isn't able to join, so we'll let Jordan kick us off and then see if anyone else wants to add anything in. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, sure. So originally, and I guess like in the past, scholarships used to primarily only cover cost of attendance, and which used to kind of just include books and tuition. Some of our scholarships, their criteria has been expanded a little bit to sometimes help cover costs for like supplies. So I mean, we've had students go to community college and they applied for FAFSA, so financial aid covers a majority of their funds, and so maybe there's $500 left each semester that they need to cover. They got a scholarship for $2,000, so $1,000 is split between both of those semesters. And then the other grant is also halfway split, but goes right back into their student account, and they can use it to go to the school store and get notebooks, their laptop, or whatever other supplies that they need, so long as it's solely related to college costs. As a nonprofit, state and federal regulations also state we cannot pay scholarships directly to students for you to use as you please. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. I know we've had cases where a student gets their tuition, like their cost of attendance, fully covered through financial aid from the federal government, and also through scholarships through their college institution. And they call us and they request that the scholarship just be sent directly to them. And we cannot do that. So strictly, at least for NCCF, scholarships pay for cost of attendance, tuition, books, and sometimes extra supplies.
Good, good. And sometimes we'll get the question that goes along with this. You know, if I'm getting a scholarship, can I get one that just covers books or something? Like, you know, sometimes students will ask that. What do you guys normally say back to students?
I personally have not had this question so often, but I mean, honestly, our general answer is just like, according to state and federal regulations, we have to pay directly to institutions so that we know the funds are being applied to where they need to legally be.
And at Wake Tech, I work very closely with my colleagues in financial aid. Once award decisions are made and students accept their awards and give me everything they need to do to accept it, I send that award information to our financial aid office. It gets added to your student account. And then at that point, you can use it to pay for classes and books and supplies anywhere you can use your student account. The extra bit here is that if you are eligible to receive a refund from the college, so say you get a Pell Grant and you get a scholarship, and our money is in addition to any other money that you would get, that's institution specific. Some scholarships are last dollar, so if you get aid, it's gonna like top you up to your full costs. Ours is in addition to, so it's first dollar. If you're eligible to receive a refund through financial aid, any money you do not spend on that you do not need for tuition and those on-campus costs gets refunded directly to you. Eligibility is all U.S. citizens are eligible to receive that refund. Some visa statuses are eligible, but many visa statuses are not. For those students, I know for us, I work with those students to find other ways that we can utilize those funds on their behalf. We are not allowed to cut checks directly to students, just like Jordan was saying. But when we hit those roadblocks where a student maybe can't utilize their full funds, I work pretty hard to try to figure out a way that we can still have those funds benefit them if we possibly can.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask two questions before we go on to the next one. One is, if anyone on here, and I'll look to see what I can put in here, but folks are looking for examples of national search engines to use, what we like to recommend. And then also, let's see, whoever would like to, I think we kind of answered it some, but they'd like to know if scholarships include room and board. Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
So some will, right? Especially scholarships that come from like your four-year institutions that are institutional-based scholarships. A lot of those do include room and board. Wake Tech is not a college where you will be staying here, so we do not run into that. And so ours do not cover those costs. But if you're eligible for a refund and you have more funding than you have charges, I'm not asking you what you're spending that money on. So if that money is going to help pay your rent for one of your months, that is great, because having your rent covered makes it easier for you to come to school.
Absolutely. All right, let's come over to Daniela and Maya. We'll kick it off with Daniela. Should I apply for a lot of scholarships or a few? What approach should I take to this as a student?
Apply to as many as you are eligible for, as many as you can find. The worst thing, and as with a lot of things, the worst thing you can hear is no, but you won't know unless you ask, unless you try and you fill out that application. So I think one of the most important things is to be organized and make sure that you know, again, when those deadlines are. I'm all about charts. Make yourself a chart, deadline, name of the scholarship, requirements, and supplementals so that you have everything that you're going to need. And if you're asking, for a letter of recommendation, you can tell them, I need them for this and this and this scholarship. So they can just change the name of who it's going to, and your the people that are helping you, you can make it as easy for them as well. So definitely take advantage of as many as you can, because we know the cost of college can sometimes be prohibitive, and we want to make sure that we're helping students end up with as little debt as possible.
And I just want to, everything Daniela said is totally spot on. I just want to share with you, I hear from a lot of students who are like, oh, but maybe I don't need this scholarship as much as somebody else. Maybe, someone else should get the scholarship instead of me. Do not self-select yourself out of awards. You don't know which awards are actually looking for you, right? A lot of the awards I've got are so specific, right? And if you're that student and you decided, oh, someone else needed it more, maybe I can't give away that money. Like, put yourself in the system, let the scholarship administrators decide whether or not you're going to get that money. Put yourself in the running. I will say it can get really overwhelming if you're applying from a ton of different sources. So also just consider your own sanity, right? Be like, I think these are my main institutions, so I'm going to focus on awards that will be eligible at those institutions. You can be a little bit targeted if you're feeling like these are too many scholarships to apply for. But if you have the capacity, the more you apply for, the higher your chances are of getting the aid you need.
Thank you. That's perfect. Daniela, if you don't mind, and then anyone else who wants to chime in, we'll kick it off with Daniela. We got a student that says, I don't know if I'm going to qualify for need-based scholarships based on what I'm hearing tonight. What am I looking for with these if I don't think I'm going to qualify for need-based?
So there's scholarships for all sorts of different things. So adding on to what Maya was saying, definitely don't self-select, because you don't know. You don't know, what all they're looking for. But there's also merit-based scholarships that are based on your academic achievements. There may be scholarships based on some of your extracurricular involvement, community service, all sorts of different activities that you have done and how you make yourself stand out. So look at those descriptions, look at those requirements, ask around, and there's definitely scholarships that go beyond need-based.
I will also say we offer scholarships based on specific programs of study. So we've got donors in the community specifically who are like, I want to fund students who are going into our industry so that we will have people we can hire, right? Especially in areas like healthcare fields. And we've got a really amazing auto program. And the auto dealers in this area are all in on that program. They want to throw money at those students because they need to hire them when they're done. So even if you're like, my academics aren't great, I don't have a ton of need, but I'd really like to be able to get a scholarship. There are scholarships out there that really are like, you're studying this and we want you to finish school, so we're going to give you money.
That's an excellent point. Like we, for example, at LAWA, we have several different scholarship funds from different funders, and we have several scholarships that are funded, for example, by Moran Builders, and they look specifically for students that are interested in STEM careers. So we have like a pot of money that is specifically dedicated for STEM scholarships, because that's where our funders are requesting basically, a pipeline. So even like if you're looking at the LAWA scholarship, you don't know kind of like how we kind of line you up with our different funders based on the information that you're giving us. So again, do not self-select and think that you're not eligible for something, because there's a lot at play.
I feel like we also just answered this one.
Exactly. That's kind of why I went on, because I was like, we're kind of in the same boat here, right, with this answer as well. So for both the need-based and the academic ones, there's so many scholarships based on so many different things, and you just don't know for sure. But there's there's a lot out there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pass this over to Daniela and Jordan. What might be, when we have talked about this, but maybe some various things. You talked about letter of recommendation, probably maybe an essay, maybe a transcript, who knows? What might be required besides an application that I might want to go ahead and think about?
So I think those are some of the most common things. And of course, anyone else feel free to jump in. But I know for our scholarship, we ask about financial information because we do look at financial need, even though it's not the only thing that we look at. We ask about first generation status. We ask because our scholarship is geared specifically towards students of Latino or Hispanic backgrounds. We ask about that. We ask for transcript, recommendation letters, 3 specific recommendation letters, and they have to come from a teacher, a community leader, and I think that the last ones is optional of who they want it to come from. So that's something that you want to pay very close attention to, because we've had students who turn in, for example, 3 teacher recommendation letters, and they're not really meeting our requirements because that's not what we asked for. So it's very important that you look at the specifics of those supplementals to make sure that you are providing a complete application with the requirements.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here and say, we, as far as our main application and our separate applications go, we definitely require the same information, transcript, letter of rec. A couple of our separate applications do ask for family financial information more in depth, but our main application has an optional financial information section. We initially tailored it to this past year's FAFSA because of the delays. And because we had those scholarships that kind of either required or had a preference for financial need. But I think we might keep that financial information section in our application this year, just in case. But that section literally, it only asked for your, what is the new, your SAI number, or because it used to be student aid index, but I believe it's something different now. I forget, what is it called? Can anybody help me here? What's the new term for the FAFSA number?
I just totally blanked, you guys. I'm gonna
I
find
know, I like was thinking about it and I was like, wait, I just had it in my mind. Anyway, we do ask, it's optional, but we have a space if you want to provide your number, and then we also have a space for a financial statement. Just because FAFSA, honestly, many didn't get their FAFSA results by the time our deadline had come. So that information is there on our main application, only required for a couple of applications. But other than that, the standard information, transcript, letter of rec. And then of course, there's a few other questions on our applications, definitely tailored to specific scholarships that maybe have more specific criteria, or a specific essay question tailored to their scholarship specifically that they'd like you to ask. But student aid index, thank you very much. That was replaced for extended family contribution. Thanks, April.
Mhm. And you'll likely be asked to do essays or short answer as well. And we're lucky that we are in institutional scholarships, so a lot of the information they're talking about we get directly from the college's student information system. So if you've applied to the college, there's a lot of questions I don't have to ask you because I can see that information in my system. So we are only asking you questions that are specific to opportunities that we couldn't know through information that the college already has on you. And the essay.
Perfect. And I know that folks have said this before, but I think it bears repeating. Make sure if you're asking for those letter of recommendations, you're asking early, right? Especially if it's a teacher that's popular, gonna get a lot of them. Ask early, and just read what the scholarship says, because it'll tell you what's going to be required. All right, so we are almost done with formal questions. Let's touch on this, and I'm just going to start with Maya and then pass this along to anyone else also. So what happens after I'm awarded a scholarship? So I got it. Oh, and also back up to that one question, how do I find out if I got the scholarship? And then what happens?
So that's going to be different from every scholarship that you apply for, right? With the scholarships that I manage, we are going to email you at your college email address. So if you've applied to Wake Tech, you have a Wake Tech email, we're going to notify you at your Wake Tech email. Our scholarship application system allows me to send text messages. So if you don't respond by accepting your application, I might send you a nudge that's like, hey, you have a really exciting email and you should check it so that you can get your award. We require a couple of acceptance pieces before we'll release your funds. So your offer email is going to give you a ton of the details that you want to know. It's going to tell you, what do you do next? Where does that money go? How do I access it? All of that is included for us. You log back in, you answer some super easy, like just for our own information, for improving the process questions. And then we're going to ask you to upload a photo that we can share with your scholarship's donor and upload a thank you note for your scholarship's donor. And once you have completed those steps, I'm going to look at your materials, make sure that they are what we need. And then I send that information to our financial aid folks, and they put it on your student record. You can log into your student account, see the money, and access the money once you're registering. But that's going to be a little different at different places, especially community-based scholarships may be sending that money directly to financial aid, and you'll see it when they get the check. There's a few scholarships out there that hand you a check, but I think for the most part, regulations are like, no, don't do that. I'm going to open it up because I know what we do, but I don't know what.
Yeah, so we also email, so make sure that you are checking your email after you apply. In fact, highly recommend that you have an email address that is formal and professional and solely dedicated to your college process, because then your important emails related to applications for schools and scholarships are not going to get bogged down with all of the junk mail that comes through. So very important that you're constantly checking for information and updates. If something's missing, they'll also email you. So your award letter is going to come through. We'll also reach out if we haven't heard back from the students. We'll reach out via text or phone call. And then we require proof of enrollment before we send funds to the schools. So students can send us like a screenshot of their classes that list that they're enrolled, you know, in a full schedule, or something similar to that, or, you know, anything that proves that they are actively enrolled for however number of hours that they're doing that semester. And then we send the check directly to pay for tuition, because our scholarship covers tuition and fees. So that's what it can be applied to.
And as far as NCCF goes, once you are awarded, usually you're notified by the scholarship administrator or somebody from NCCF. You can check if you've been awarded one of two ways. We send you an email anyway once you've been awarded, because what we do is assign each recipient a follow-up form. So you can check in your scholarships portal and see if that form has been assigned, or of course, again, check your email for the email from NCCF saying, hey, you've got this scholarship for this amount, and then it'll also detail the next steps. The next steps are you go into your scholarships portal again, fill out that follow-up form. That form has a few questions, mostly biographical, but a couple are, tell us what college you're going to, provide us your student ID number, upload your acceptance letter or current transcripts if you're a current college student. And then 4 biographical questions, they're super quick. We just ask, you know, why did you pick your college? What do you enjoy about your college? What are your aspirations throughout college? And if you want to give like a thanks to the donor or fund holder. And then we do share that follow-up with the donors at the end of the season. But once you fill that out, and we know what college you're going to, then we're able to process your award and mail your check directly to your school. And you'll know where the money goes when you see it show up in your student account, when you check it in the fall semester.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I did hear something that a couple things that I'll just reiterate again. One is make sure you have your personal email address set up. You need that. Seniors that are on, or whoever, you will lose access to your school email account over, you know, the summer after senior year. But also you need to have a nice professional email account ready to go. Heard some other things. We'll kind of chat about that. I am watching the time. We are kind of at the end, but what I would like to do is see if there's any other questions that have come in through the chat. And then Maya, Jordan, Daniela, is there anything else you wanted to mention that we haven't been able to talk about this evening?
I just wanted to talk about those emails that are going to notify you that you get money. Most of the scholarships you apply for will tell you what to expect for the process and when, like the window when you should be expecting those emails. That same calendar that you're using to know when to apply, keep it for knowing when to check your email. Don't miss that email. We don't want to offer you money and have you miss out.
And a majority of those emails will show up, I'd say no later than June, unless it's like we have a few scholarships that are specific to country clubs. And so they give their employees, which are the college students, the summer to fill out the application. But a majority of scholarships will let you know by June if you have been awarded. And if you haven't heard anything, you can certainly always reach out to the scholarship administrator.
And ours are a July notification.
Oh, there you go.
But
okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just
Specific.
I don't want
Thanks.
students to worry if they haven't heard in June. That is when I am in there physically awarding all the awards.
Okay. Yeah.
But ours are geared towards, if you do all of our requirements, you are guaranteed to get your funds by the fall payment deadline for us. So we've timed it out specifically to ensure that you will have your funds when you need them.
And I'll also add, if you are having questions about a particular scholarship fund, reach out. We're very friendly people. We're here to help. We like answering questions and making sure that we can give you as much information as possible, because that's why we are in the field that we are. So definitely encourage you to reach out specifically to those places that you're looking at applying to, and they will be more than happy to help you.
And then if you're somebody who gets nervous about writing short answer questions, about writing essays, I encourage you to not use generative AI. A lot of scholarships are going to tell you no, including ours, but to reach out to your resources. Ask a trusted peer, a faculty member that you like, a teacher that you know has your back, a parent. They can look over your essays. They shouldn't write them for you, but get some feedback. You don't have to like hide it in a cave and show no one. I know for our current students, I send them to our student writing center all the time. That is a fantastic resource. If you're in high school right now, you're going to have resources at your school who can help you to craft and perfect those pieces. Use the tools you've got.
And again, just to note, apply for as many scholarships as feasible for you. I can't tell you how many dollars have been left on the table just because maybe a scholarship is very unique and has a specific criteria. Maybe you don't think you quite fit, but they just didn't find an applicant, or just any of the applicants the few applicants they had didn't quite fit. So there's always dollars left on the table. So just to try to apply to as many as you can. I mean, NCCF, we just wrapped up our season stats today. We awarded $1.49 million in scholarships this year. And our scholarships range, the lowest is $1,000. That's the minimum award, up to $20,000. So always take the chance and apply to as many as you can, because you never know. You could get a good sized award and be very surprised.
And don't overlook local scholarships. Sometimes the big national scholarships have very large flashy numbers like $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, and your little local scholarships may look like $5,000. But the pool that you're competing against will vary greatly too when you're competing for a national scholarship versus when you're competing for a local scholarship. And then one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is look at matching funds as well. So at LAWA, we have several partner institutions that offer matching funds. So if you get, our scholarships range from $2,500 to $5,000. If you get, say, $5,000 for us and you go to Queen's University, that's a matching institution, you have a $10,000 scholarship, not a $5,000 scholarship, in addition to whatever other aid the school is going to provide you to, and your federal financial aid and everything else. So definitely look at everything that's involved, because there's a lot out there.
I would also like to plug local awards. I know we are not one, but I was part of for a while, there was a very active Triangle area scholarship providers group, and we would talk. And the number one thing that the local scholarships were trying to figure out how to crack was how to get enough applicants, which means if you are applying to those very local awards, like you have such a good shot at that money. even if you're like, maybe I'm not the right student, just throw in an award, throw an application in, take a shot. I know we've got some outside scholarships listed on our site, and many of those are local to the Triangle. If you are local to the Triangle and those are the schools that you're looking at, check out that list, apply to some of those. They are really, really, they don't have a built-in group of students. So if you find them, apply to them.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. We've had some questions that have come in. I think we've answered them as we've gone out, so truly appreciate it. We appreciate you all joining and listening in. We also appreciate Maya and Jordan and Daniela for joining us this evening. We could not have done this without you. Thank you all so much for your experience and your expertise and all the wisdom you're able to join. Thank you all for joining us, and this program will be put on our CFNC YouTube channel in about a week. So thank you all once again, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.